Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube for 7th grade live stream. This was a live stream. I decided to record a new one because I realized after the fact all my notifications and all the comments were on there, so this is just a clean version. It's probably going to be a little bit shorter since I'm not reacting to the comments, but it will have the same problems and the same content as the live stream did. So if you missed the live stream, do not fret, this is the same thing. This is going to be a little bit of 6th grade review, like end of 6th grade to beginning of 7th grade. So if you don't quite understand what we're doing by the end of it, that's okay because it's probably new. You're probably not gonna know. If you do know, that's awesome. I'll post some resources and some practice so you guys can look at sort of what's happening at the end, what kind of problems we're doing. And then of course I'm adding that to my list of videos for YouTube. We're gonna start with a fraction problem here. Let's see, 2/1/10. Okay. What we need to know is we need to recognize what kind of problem this is. This is a mixed fraction, okay? We know that because this is a whole number right here. Okay, we have a whole number plus the remainder. So this is a mixed fraction. What we need to do when we're solving any sort of fraction is turn it into an improper fraction. Improper fraction, what we need to think about for mixed fraction, we have 13 wholes, okay? We have 13, so what's a whole? 3 over 3. So we have 3 over 3 plus 3 over 3 plus 3 over 3. And we have 13 of these, so we're just gonna add 13. Imagine there's 13. Well, at the end of 13 3/3, they added 1/3, okay? So how do we represent this as an improper fraction? What we're going to do is we're going to multiply 3 by 13. It's going to be 39. So we have 39 3/3. Or sorry, we have 39, yeah, plus this remainder, which is 40. Okay, what about this one? We have 20, 2 times 10, plus that extra one, 21. Okay. Now let's grab our denominator, so that's going to be 40 divided by 3, 20 divided by 10. So now that we have these, we converted these into improper fractions. These are the same, these are equivalents. Okay, so let's remember what kind of problem we're doing. We are multiplying these fractions. Now, this looks like what we solved in our first slide, where we can just multiply straight across, because this is just fractions, multiplying. 40 times 21, 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 4 is 4, 2 times 0 is 0, 4, 8, so you should get 840. 3 times 10, 30. Cool. So this one probably pretty easy for you guys if you guys are in 7th grade. This is beginning of 6th grade. So again, what we did was we turned these into improper fractions, and then here's them in the improper format, and then we multiplied straight across to get our answer. And you guys can reduce this and convert this into whatever you like. We can also reduce this into 84 over 3, and then we go further into mixed fractions. We can put it back into mixed fractions. I don't think you can reduce anymore. I'd have to check. Alright, so I'm erasing this. I'll give you guys a second if you need it. Alright. Our next problem is going to be decimals. We have a lovely 9.2 times 3.1. When multiplying decimals, we can sort of ignore the decimal point for a little bit. We need it, we still need it, so don't erase it, but we can multiply these as if they were whole numbers. So that 92, or that 9.2, we could multiply it as 92 and 31. This becomes just a pretty easy multiplication question. 2 times 1 is 2, 1 times 9 is 9. 2 times 3, 6, and that's 29, 18, 27. Now we're going to add these. All right. So this should be your big answer, 92 times 31. You should get 2,852. Now we look back at our decimals. How many decimal places do we have? So we have 1 decimal place, we have 2 decimal places. So what we're gonna do is move our decimal 2 places. So your answer should be 28.52. So one more time, I recognized how many decimal places we had, and then I added our 2 decimal places. So we have 2 decimal places. The decimal at any whole number, the decimal is right after. So 9 is the same thing as 9 point. Okay, so I moved our decimal places 2 places over. We're gonna do, okay, I'll give you guys a second. And then we can sort of logically check. I think our answer was 28.52. Does 9 times 3 is going to be 27. So we know that our answer is going to be around 27 because we're just estimating these. We're rounding down to check our answer. 9 times 3 is 27. So yeah, 28 is pretty close to 27. So that would be a logical answer for us. If we got like 500, that wouldn't be such a logical answer. So we would know we made a mistake somewhere. Our next problem, oh, that one was pretty fun. Our next problem is an area problem. We have a lovely Danny DeVito. Is building a fence around his yard. Building a fence around his yard. His yard is 20 feet long and 45 feet wide. Did I say 45? Yeah, 45 feet wide. Okay, the fencing is $25 per foot. How big is his yard? And what is the total price? All right, so let's recognize that there are 2 questions in this word problem. We have the first question, which is asking for the area of Danny DeVito's yard. The second question is how much he paid in total for the fencing. So let's draw a pretty picture of Danny DeVito's yard. I think Danny DeVito has a pretty boring yard. It's just a rectangle. 20 by 45. We'll actually do this here. 20 feet. Let's see. Yeah, that's right. 20 feet by 45 feet, okay? So the first question we have is an area question. So let's solve that first. We know the equation for area equals length times width. So we have our length and our width. Area, we're going to plug these in. 20 times 45. 45 times 20. 0, 0, 0. That's 7. So we should get 700. Should get 700. Oops, that's pretty ugly. 700 feet squared for our area. I just did 20 times 45. So we have 700 feet. So we know the first part of our problem equals 700 feet squared. Okay. Area is always in units squared. Our next portion of the problem is asking how much he spent. Now, at first it may look like we would use area for this, but it's actually not, because fencing goes around. Danny DeVito did not fence his entire yard all the way in. He just fenced the perimeter. So, what's the equation for perimeter? Perimeter is going to be all these sides added together, okay? So we're doing 45 plus 45 plus 20 plus 20. That's going to be 90 plus 40, which is 130. Okay, so that is the perimeter of Danny DeVito's yard. We have the perimeter times the cost of fencing per square foot. This is how many, or sorry, not square foot, per foot. This is how many feet he has to fence times what it costs to fence 1 foot. So 130 times 25, you should get $3,250. And I just multiplied 130 by 25. You guys can use a calculator or you can do it in your head, but I'm not gonna. You guys can see. Alright, so one more time just to recap. I'll put that up here. Alright, so just to recap, we figured out the area to see how big Danny DeVito's yard is, as well as what it would cost to fence it by calculating the perimeter and multiplying it per foot, the price. Alright. So this is the end. This probably concludes our 6th grade review. Now we're going to move on to 7th grade. If you guys have questions, I will respond to them in the comments, hopefully, as well as if you're not a part of our Discord, I highly recommend you join our Discord because I host breakout rooms and just a sort of Q&A if you guys need it. Our next problem is going to introduce us to algebra and pre-algebra. Alrighty. So we first see that we have a letter all of a sudden. Where did the letter come from? Well, the letter is a variable. So what a variable is it represents a number that we don't know yet, okay? So the first thing we need to do when we see this problem is isolate the variable. A variable will always be a letter. Well, usually it will be a letter. It can be X, it can be Y, it can be H, it can be J. Any letter really, it just stands for an unknown. So first thing we're going to do is isolate a variable. What we need to know to isolate a variable is our opposites. Positive and negatives are opposites. Multiplication and division are opposites. What we need to do is find out what's happening here, because the goal at the end of this problem is to have H equals. That's our goal to have this set up. But we're not there yet because we got some funky stuff going on. So let's figure out what we need to do. First thing, what's happening to H? What's happening to H? H is being divided by 19. So we look over here, we say, okay, well, it's being divided. What's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by 19. Okay? What we do on one side, we need to do to the other. This is all about balancing. We cannot solve these equations without fixing, we can't do it without doing the same thing on the other side, because otherwise you would just have a wrong equation where we have to balance this out. Alright, so what you will see is you have a 19 over 19. 19 divided by 19 is 1. So we just have H now. You see how I did that? 19 over 19. We're multiplying these. We can cancel these out since it's just 1. So you guys can put a 1H there if you need it. But it's the same thing as just H, so we're going to leave it as H. If you guys are confused about how I did that in that step, I will post a YouTube video. You guys can comment if you need it, and we're going to move on. So we have 11 times 19. We're going to solve that. 9 times 1 is 9. 1 times 1 is 1. 9, 1. Ooh, I'm getting ahead of myself. 9. You should have 209. Yep. H equals 209. So what we did is we saw what was happening with H. It is being divided. So we did the opposite of division, which is multiplication. So we multiplied 19 on both sides, and we got 209. I'm going to do, since this is probably new for you guys, I'm going to do another one of these. I know we haven't done practice problems yet. I'll leave this up there for you guys. I don't remember, I know we did a practice problem on the live stream last night, but I don't remember what I gave to you guys, so we're just going to make one up. Yeah, okay. 3x equals 30. Okay, first thing we need to do is isolate the variable. What's happening to x? I'll give you guys a second. You guys can pause it. I forget there's a YouTube video. You guys can pause it and solve it. So I'll give you a second to pause it and see if you can solve it. Okie dokie. So if you have paused it, then you should have your answer by now. If you're stuck and you don't know what to do, then let's watch what we're going to do. We have 13x equals 30. What's happening with x? Well, x is being multiplied by 3. So let's look at our cheat sheet. And what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So we're going to divide by 3 on both sides. Because what we do on one side, we need to do on the other side. 3 divided by 3, we can cancel those out. That's just 1, so we have a 1x, or just x. 30 divided by 3 is 10. X equals 10. Here's a really cool trick, you guys. If you solve it and get your answer and plug it back in, if you check it, you can never get these wrong. Let me show you how. If we plug x, we found x. X is no longer unknown. We know x is 10. So let's plug in x for our original equation. If you don't see what I just did, I just plugged in x equals 10 for our variable. 30 times 10 is 30. Does 30 equal 30? Yes, it does. So that's how we know we got a question right. If you were to plug in, let's say for some reason you got x equals 2, which is wrong. We could check, we could do 3 times 2 equals 30. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 equals 30. That's not true. So we know x equals 2 is not right. So if this is a true statement, if whatever you get at the end is a true statement, so a number equals a number, and it's the same number, you know that you did your problem right. If you get a false statement, you probably made an error somewhere, and you should go back and see where you made your error. Alright, we're gonna do one more of these. Again, these probably are different than the live stream because I don't remember what we did on the live stream, but it's very similar. Alright, first thing we need to do is isolate the variable. That means at the end of it we want x equals. So how do we get x alone? Well, what's happening to x? If you guys need a second to pause it, please pause it here and solve. And then, give you guys a second. Okay. By now, you should have paused it, or if you need help, we're moving on. We're moving to solve it. But if you paused it, you should have your answer by now. What's happening to x? X is being added to 12, so how do we get x alone? Well, addition, we have addition, the opposite is subtraction, so we're going to subtract 12 on both sides. Plus 12 minus 12, that's 0. 24 minus 12 is 12, so x equals 12. If you're confused how I did that, let me write. Let's do this. This is 0, this is 12, Yeah, okay, there we go. X equals 12. Okay, so we have x equals 12. Let's check it. I'll give you guys a second to pause and see if you can check it and get the right answer. Okay, here we go. X equals 12, I'm plugging in 12 for x. I'll get these parentheses because they can be confusing. 12 plus 12, that is 24. Does 24 equal 24? I would say it does. Hasn't changed since I last learned math. So 24 equals 24, that's a true statement. So we know that this problem we did right. Okie dokie. Our next thing that we're going to do is a two-step equation. If that was pretty easy for you, we're going to bump it up a notch. Guys, be patient with this. If you don't quite understand it at first, that's okay, because it is a new topic. And we did this one in the live stream. Actually, I'm going to rewrite. Oops, that's not right. There we go. Okie dokie. So first thing we need to do, we recognize that we have a variable here, an unknown, so we need to isolate it. Now, how do we isolate it? I'm going to teach you guys the easiest way. You can start whichever way you like, but there's an easier way because otherwise it involves fractions. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the thing that doesn't have the variable. So that's going to be this number here. Okay, so what's happening? Well, addition is happening. So what's the opposite of addition? Subtraction. So we're going to subtract 3 on both sides. Positive 3 minus 3, that's 0. 27 minus 3. Minus 3 is, we do this? Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. This should be a negative, or a subtraction. I wrote it down as positive. I was like, that's going to give me a fraction. I don't really want to do fractions with you guys with these yet. But here we go. I'm sorry, I wrote the equation down wrong. This is the right equation. Okay, so what's happening here? Subtraction is happening. The opposite of subtraction, let's look at our cheat sheet, is addition. So we're going to add 3. Negative 3 plus positive 3 equals 0. 27 plus 3 equals 30. We have 5m equals 30. Now this looks just like the problems that we did earlier. So we have 5m equals 30. Now what's happening between the m and the 5? Multiplication is happening. So what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So we're going to divide by 5 on both sides. Okay, 5 divided by 5, that's just 1, so we can cancel these out. M equals 30 divided by 5 is 6. So that one was a bit trickier because this is a two-step. So originally we were doing one-step equations. Now this is a two-step equation because first we had to take our first step, adding the 3, and then dividing the 5. So there's 2 steps in this. Now what we can do, again, these are super nice because you can check. If you can literally get these 100% right all the time if you check. If you don't check, that's on you. I can't help you there because then it's just, you don't know. So we are going to check. We're going to plug our m in. M we said was equal to 6. 5 times 6 is 30. Minus 3 equals 27. 30 minus 3 is 27. Does 27 equal 27? Sorry, that's a pretty ugly 7. 27 equals 27. That is a true statement. So we know we did this right. How do we feel about this? Let me know in the comments. Let's do another one of these. I'll give you guys a second to pause if you think you can do it on your own. How do we want to do this? We'll do 3m, let's pick a different variable. 3j, because my name starts with a j, so we're going to do a j. 3j plus 15 equals 45. We'll do that. Okie dokie. What do we know is happening here? I'll give you guys a second to pause, see if you can solve it. This one's gonna be a lot like the last one. Alrighty, so if you pause it, you should have your answer right now. If you guys need some help and want an explanation, here it is. First thing that's happening, we're gonna isolate the variable, but we're gonna do that the easiest way, which is taking care of this number without the variable first. Addition is happening. Opposite of addition is subtraction, so we're gonna subtract 15 on each side. Positive 15 minus 15 is 0. 45 minus 15 is 30. So we have 3j. We can represent this as 3j plus 0. So we can do this. But since that 0 doesn't really do anything, because like 3j plus 0 is still just 3j, we can just do this. So I just got rid of that 0 because we didn't need it. Now what are we going to do? We notice that the j is being multiplied by 3. Opposite of multiplication is division, so we're going to divide by 3. Okay? These cancel out. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so that's just j. j 30 divided by 3 is 10, so we got j equals 10. Now let's plug this in and see if we got the right answer. 3j plus 15 equals 45. We said j was 10 plus 15 equals 45. 3 times 10, 30, plus 15 equals 45. 30 plus 15, that is 45. Does 45 equal 45? I believe so. So we know we did this right. This is called a two-step equation, so it took us 2 steps to get our answer. This is basically, for the most part, what algebra is. Alrighty, we're gonna move on to a proportion problem. If you guys are confused on this, don't fret. This is 7th grade math, so if you're a 7th grader, you're going into 7th grade, you're at the beginning of the school, or maybe you haven't even started school. So don't worry if you guys don't know exactly what this is or how to do it, or if you're struggling. I will post some resources on this because I know this is probably a new topic. Alrighty. We're going to do a proportion problem. I've got 2 more problems for you guys. 3 more problems for you guys. Sorry guys, I lied. Let's get a good color here. We have h divided by 6 equals 20 over 24. Now what I did last night was I introduced you guys to my friend Gerald. Gerald is my butterfly. It's very fun. Gerald, you guys can use Gerald. I just gave him a name. This is not like an actual mathematical term. I just named my method. Gerald is my butterfly. Here's what Gerald does. Oh gosh. Gerald's not looking so hot today. This is Gerald. We'll give him a smiley face. This is called the butterfly method. The butterfly method you also probably know as cross multiplication. So what the butterfly method does is it groups these 2 numbers together, 20 and 6 and h and 24. So what we can do is we can multiply, okay? H times 24, that's 24h, equals 20 times 6 is 120. All right, now this looks like our one-step problem. So now what do we know is happening? We know that 24 is being multiplied by h, because we multiplied it. So we can do the opposite, which is division. Do it on both sides. 24 divided by 24, that's just 1, which is just h. Then we have 120 over 24. All right, 120 over 24. What we can do, let's see, how do we want to do this? We can divide, we can reduce this down. I believe this is just 5. Did I say 5? Yeah, it is 5. Okay. 120 divided by 24. Let's divide that by 4. I'm reducing this. So that's going to be 6. We can divide this by 4. That's 30. All right, we can still reduce this down further. 30 divided by 6 is 5. That's how I got the 5 there. Sorry guys, I know I skipped a step in there. Basically, we got this fraction, we're reducing it down to just 5. So, h equals 5. Guess what? We can plug it in. So let's go back to Gerald. Let's refer to Gerald. Almighty Gerald. H, we're plugging in 5 for h. Now what proportions are kind of cool about is that we can plug this in two ways. First off, we can reduce this side. 20, 24, we can divide this by 4, and basically we're just reducing this fraction. So we get 5 over 6. Does 5 over 6 equal 5 over 6? I would say it does. So if you guys didn't quite understand that, all I did was I reduced this side of the fraction, and so we got 5 equals 6, or 5 over 6 equals 5 over 6. If you guys didn't like that method, what we could also do is we can use Gerald. All right, Gerald, come back here. I'd draw the butterfly because I think it's fun. Okay, 5 times 24, that will be 120. 6 times 20 is also 120. Does 120 equal 120? I would say it does. So we know we did this right. I will post some more practice on proportions because I know this is probably new, or a lot of people struggle with this, but the butterfly method is always trusty. That's what I still use. There are other methods out there that work. It just depends on what you like. So I will link those in the comments. All right, we're moving on to a percent problem. If you guys aren't on the Discord, I really recommend you get on the Discord because we did percent problems for like an hour and a half last night. It was super helpful. I think a lot of people got a lot out of it. We're doing geometry tonight. Let's see. So we did questions like this for like an hour and a half. It was really cool. You guys can ask me questions because I can actually hear you. All right, 15% of 85. What we need to know is a percent is just part of a whole. So a percent is just a fraction, a way to represent a fraction. Anytime we see a percent, we can immediately put the percent over 100. That is how you turn percents into fractions. You take your percent, you put it over 100 because it is out of 100%. So if we had a 3%, we would put 3 over 100. If we had 125%, we can put 125 over 100. It's always going to be 1 over 100. 15 over 100, we're going to multiply by our number here, 85. All right, what we can do is multiply straight across. Okay, so 15 times 85. 5 times 5 is 25. That is 40, 42. 5, 8. You should get 1,275 on the top over 100. Okay, I'm gonna write this down here because we're running out of room. Let's see if I did that right. Yeah, okay. So what we can do, we're dividing by 100. You guys can plug this into your calculator, you can reduce it, whatever works for you guys, but I'm going to show you a shortcut, which is what I use. When we are dividing by 10, 100, 1,000, we can recognize that there are 2 zeros right here. Oh, I erased part of our 0. Oh gosh. Okay, we recognize that there are 2 zeros here, so what are we going to do? Our decimals at the end, we can move it over 2 places. 1, 2, because there are 2 zeros. You should have 12.75. You guys can plug this into your calculator, you can reduce it by hand, whatever works for you guys. I'm just showing you a life hack that I use. I still use it because it's just quick, simple math, and you guys can, it saves me a lot of time. So that is how I got that. Again, one more time, I have our decimal out here. We recognize that we have 2 zeros, so we're going to move it 2 decimal places to get 12.75. Cool, okay. So that is our percent problem. I have one more problem for you guys. It is geometry. Tonight we are going over geometry in the Discord, so I really recommend joining the Discord because you guys can ask questions, and we're just going to go from there. I told you guys in the first live stream about my story, King Circumference. I read a book in like 6th grade, it was about this. I don't think his name was King Circumference, but we're going to talk about this. Basically, King Circumference, I'm going to talk about what circumference is. Circumference is the perimeter of a circle. So you know how for perimeters of like a square, we add all these sides up, boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. Basically, it's the distance around it. Circumference, all it is the distance around this, okay? So the equation for that is C equals 2 pi r, okay? Pi is a constant, pi equals 3.14. I'll erase this because you guys don't need this anymore. Pi equals 3.14, that is not a variable. Pi, it's not the good kind of pi, I wish it was, but unfortunately it's not. This is just a way to represent. I can find, if you guys are curious, I can find how they calculate pi. Pi is an irrational number, it never ends, it's infinite. At my school we used to do pi contests, so once I knew over 100 digits of pi, but for all intents and purposes in math, you're going to use 3.14. That's all you need to know. Alrighty, so we know this is a calculated number, r is our variable. So what this problem's going to give you is the diameter. Alright, so the diameter is the distance from one end of the circle to the other. In our King Circumference story, diameter is his wife. She goes against this giant log in the magical tree forest, and basically, actually I'll draw diameter the other way to help you visualize. She was as tall as the log from top to bottom. Her son, Prince Radii, was half the size of the log. He went from the middle, the center, to the end. All right, so if we know that he was half the size of the log, then we also know that he was half the size of Lady Diameter, because Lady Diameter was as tall as the log. All right, so we have our diameter. Diameter, I'm going to give you D equals 24. Okay, diameter is 24 inches. We're going to give you a measurement there. Alrighty, so what we need to find is the circumference, the distance around the circle. Well, we know diameter is 24, but we need the radius. How do we find the radius? Well, we know the radius is half the size of the diameter, so we're going to divide 24 by 2, because that's half. Radius is going to be 12 inches. Does everyone see how I got that? You guys can rewind it if you need a little bit more help. Alright, so radius is 12 inches, so what we can do with circumference is we can plug in what we know, 2 pi times 12, because we just found the radius, because it's half the diameter. I'm going to use a calculator for this. 2 times 3.14 times 12. We should get, for the circumference, 75.36. Alright, so what we did was we are given the diameter, we found the radius because radius is half of the diameter, and then we plugged it into our circumference equation. Alright, our next thing I'm going to ask you is the area. Our equation for our area is pi r squared. Oh, let's put units on this here. I know that I got docked down a lot for not marking my units in middle school. I don't want you guys to get docked down. So please put your units, if they give you units in the question, then put your units in your answer. All right, area is 2 pi r. So we know pi, we're trying to figure out area, and we have r now. So area equals pi, let's plug in r, 12. So we should get area equals 144 pi. I just squared the 12. Oops. Area equals, I just multiplied 144 by 12, or sorry, 144 by pi in my calculator. 452.16 inches squared. So this is an area. Area is units in units. It is units squared. So this is our answer for area. We figured out the equation here. We have the equation. There are cheat sheets online that give you all the equations for geometry. I highly recommend checking those out. Those have helped me a lot. We figured out r from diameter, and we plugged in r here, and we solved for the area. All right. I have a different answer here. 12. Oh, that's why I have a different answer there. Okay, never mind. That's right. Okay, this is right. Alrighty, guys. If you guys have any questions, link them in the comments, please. If you aren't a part of our Discord, please join our Discord and follow our YouTube. You guys are on YouTube, so you're probably following it. The Discord, again, is super helpful. You can send in your math homework, your math questions, anything you're wondering. You'll get pretty much instant help because we have a lot of people who are willing to help you guys. Our website's coming Sunday or Monday, and then I will have private tutoring booking as well. Private tutoring does cost money, so email me about that. Insert your questions at mathematico20@gmail.com. I can do, basically just suggest your questions for the next live. Lives are held at Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Alright guys, thank you for joining us. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, put them in the comments or email me at mathematico20. Thanks for joining us, guys.